Hey everybody, final thoughts time for Rats of Wistar. But folks, before we get to that, I need to interrupt here and make a correction and really an apology to Cranio Creations and everybody behind Rats of Wistar. I screwed up. Make no mistake about it. And you know what, folks? I make goofs in my videos all the time. Everybody does. If you're saying you never make a mistake when you're playing a game, well, that's just because you don't videotape yourself and then put it on YouTube for people to point out. I make enough mistakes that I literally employ somebody to correct me. And by the way, folks, if you're not watching with the Klingon subtitles turned on, you're missing out because Paulo is often hilarious as he roasts me when I goof up. But to be fair, most of my goofs are dumb little things like I forget to give Jen a bonus turn or I transpose a 2 and a 5 because of the same thing upside down. Just dumb little things like that. But occasionally I make rules mistakes, which we also correct. Sometimes they're big enough that I have to re-record a video. Sometimes I make a mistake, though, that changes my opinion about the game. And that's what happened with Wistar. In my original final thoughts, I talked about, I would say I ranted about how much I disliked the exploration element of opening doors. Because you explore, you flip over a tile, you find out what you get. And I was an idiot. Because, as it turns out, there is never a door you will open in this game where you don't get something that you could use for something, even if it's just a fifth of a point at the end of the game. And I literally misread some icons and thought, oh no, there are some doors where you open them and it's like, oh, well, I literally get nothing for that. That was wrong. Totally incorrect. You always get something. Granted, it may not be much, but it's something. So my anti-door opening rant was totally invalid. And if you keep watching this video, you'll find I pretty much just edited all that stuff out. Now, I do think for my taste and Jen's taste, we still have an issue with the guest mice that you can find when you're exploring, because there are still times when you will say, you know what, I'm going to take a gamble. I'm going to invite this mouse into my home. And then it turns out, wow, that's a special power that's useless because I'm already done with that action. That supplements an action that doesn't help me anymore. And I should have not taken that and instead just explored deeper, or I should have opened another door because at least I would have gotten a resource because I should have left that room available so I could just build a bed in there and score twice as many points. That will still happen. I still don't like it. I still think the game is better if you have all the guest mice face up as part of setup so you can see, oh, I want to get that mouse. I'll race towards that mouse. Granted, it makes the game a little bit crunchier and heavier, but to me, that's a good thing. But that's a minor quibble, which I did leave in the final thoughts, but everything I said about the doors was wrong, and I way overplayed it. Now, I'm still not a fan of the Take That. I love the fact that Simone Luciani, one of the co-designers, actually posted on Board Game Geek saying, yeah, if you don't like the aggressive cards, you can take them out. They really won't affect the balance at all. So that's good news. Thanks, Simone, for letting us know that. And yeah, I think if I'm playing the game anymore, I'm going to have to use my house rule variant, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the rules. But again, in closing, it was super extra egregious for me to make this mistake and draw opinions on it on a mistaken read of the rules because I had the first video for this game up. And again, all I can do is apologize to Cranio Creations and everybody who's involved with the game. It was my mistake. I still think it's a phenomenal game. I still have a couple little quibbles with it, but my biggest, most vociferous complaint was total hogwash. I'm a doofus. I screwed up. I'm sorry. And folks, now, let's get on to the rest of the final thoughts. And let me just say, folks, wow. Wow. This, I think, for a lot of people is going to be one of the best games of the year. It's not for me and Jen. I have a couple of quibbles with it, but that does not change the fact that I love this game. Oh, my goodness. There is so much going on, starting with the Secret of Nim style, or Watership Down, I suppose, if you prefer, setting of super intelligent animals who are just trying to make a new life for themselves, scrounging off of, whatever we humans leave behind, having wonderfully fun and evocative adventures while also doing really interesting and crunchy worker placement and long-term infrastructure investment. Oh man, everything just comes together so nicely, and it's held together so strongly with the wonderful, just just delightful theme. All the cards with all these robots they're building and, inventions they're making. All the adventures of fighting a chicken. Oh, it's like the biggest thing in the world for super intelligent rats to defeat the chicken to save a rat who is, so they can come and join your colony. And I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Love the theme, love the gameplay. And I really shouldn't be surprised because, well, one of the two designers, Simone Luciani, is in my top 10 favorite designers of all time. Whenever Simone works on a game, I am there, and he has not let me down. Ever since I was first exposed to him a million years ago with Zolk and the Mayan Calendar, and then Grand Austrian Hotel, and so on. I mean, he always works with others, and I don't want to downplay the impact that his co-designers have, but he is, if his name is on the box, I have a very, very high confidence level it's going to be a game we love. Now, I do not know the other designer quite as well. Danilo Sabia? Sorry, Dan, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce your name. I have heard nothing but great things about his previous published design, Windake, which I admit looks really, really great. And I really wanted to try Windake, except from what I read, it had a fair amount of, players being able to backstab each other woven into all the Euro mechanisms. So I guess that's something Dan likes, some of the old interaction. And that's one of my problems with Wistar is Dan's predilection for that, because I don't normally see this kind of, do you have more wood than me? Then I'm just going to destroy your wood. Okay. Have you done more than me? I'm just going to rob you of victory points. And I was like, why is this stuff here? It serves no function whatsoever. It just drags the game down. But now the beautiful thing is, the game comes with 180 invention cards, and if I recall correctly, less than a dozen of them have anything to do with the fireball. They call this the aggression symbol. So for me, from now and for time immemorial, hey, what do you know? All those cards just happen to get shuffled to the bottom of the decks, and we never, ever, 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 ever see them. And the game is much better for it. It's too bad because the cards themselves are actually very, very cool. But no, I just want nothing to do with that. Especially because it's not even that I'm stealing stuff from you. I'm just destroying your stuff. So that's adding insult to injury. At least if I were only, stealing from you, I wouldn't feel quite so bad because I need that thing. But, Dan, you don't have to do that. But hey, the heart wants what the heart wants, and I appreciate that it was implemented in this game in such a way that it's super duper easy to remove. So that was one of my problems with the game that keeps it out of my top 10 of the year. Keeps it out of my top 100 of all time. Because that was kind of my gut feeling. I was trying to think, where am I putting this? As Jen and I were playing in the first game. Because one, I was able to immediately recognize, that card got drawn? Forget that. We're never going to play with that. So no problem. Once I did the card counting and saw they are less than 2% of the cards. What is 10 divided by 180? That percentage of cards easy to take out. But then there was another thing that kind of bugs me a little bit. That doesn't ruin the game, but the game could be better. And it has to do with the joy and excitement and unpredictability of exploration. Because when you're rescuing these little folks, you're like, okay, well, I've got some room. I made some room for you. And, you have a special power that's completely useless to me because it already duplicates a power I built 2 rounds ago, and you're a waste of space. You are literally preventing me from getting something that would be useful now, and there was no way I could know. I just had to roll the dice and cross my fingers, hope that my new house guest wasn't a waste of space that literally hurts me more than helps me because they don't do anything for me because of my situation, because I already had other ways to do the thing, or I couldn't use the power they have or whatever, and they have now gobbled up one of my precious rooms that I had to invest to build. And by the same token, to a lesser extent, it's certainly true that not knowing what the adventures are ahead of time, I mean, it's okay. It's fine not knowing what those are, but honestly, house rule time, I think every guest on the board, they are face up. So you will never be in a situation where you just get completely boned by bad luck, nothing you could do, and and that makes you, I've wasted opportunity, I've wasted action points, I've wasted resources to get a thing that I hoped was going to be good and turns out was awful. And not awful in a, every once in a while they're poison pills and you're just supposed to be aware of that. But no, this is a really good thing. If I could have gotten this last round, or if I hadn't already built that invention, I would love to have this. But it's useless now. And it's not like the game says, you know what? Whenever you get one of these, if you decide you don't want to house them, get 3 points. Something. And I think that's a real shame. And like I said, super, super easy to set up. When you're setting the board up, just put these face up instead of face down so everybody knows what they're racing towards. And I think now that means the game gets a little bit crunchier. That's not a problem in my book. But rating the game based on the official rules, I got to knock it down a few points for that. And now, I'm sure a lot of you would rightfully say, hey, you know what? Dem's the breaks, kids. Sometimes you go into the great unknown and what you find you won't like, and it's just too bad, so sad. And I say for you, well, then you'll be very happy with the system as is. And the thing is, while this is a game full of different things you can pursue, you can really pursue inventions, you could pursue, building up your war, and there's a ton of points there, and you can pursue exploration. Those are really like the three prime sources of points. Oh, and there's objectives as well. That's a little bit. Those are the three big sources. Exploration really isn't one you can ignore, though, because not only does exploration give you a bunch of stuff, but it unlocks these, and you need these powers. These are so game-changing, especially if you can get them earlier in the game. And then they just, they lift you up. They don't win you the game, but you really do need to earn some of these to stay competitive, I think. And there's nothing wrong with that. Of course I want to explore the big house and have adventures, of course. And so the game is incentivizing me to not ignore that. And that's great. But then when that incredibly huge and influential action can just completely leave you high and dry with nothing of value, while your other opponents who just explored right before you're after, you're like, yes, oh, this couldn't have gone better for me. So simple. Just put these tokens face up when you're setting up the board. And I think that little change very likely pushes this into my top 10 of the year, because I love to pieces everything else about this game. The whimsy, the crunchiness. Oh my gosh, does this game get crunchy. You get into so many really cool combo sequences. The smart double layer of workers, because your workers are sent out to a dial that is always updating and changing what is valuable and what is not. But also your workers you sent out can't do anything without your little family members who you have to spend resources to follow on. That's a brilliant, core, simple idea, and I love it a lot. One more thing I should say, by the way, I love it. I've loved this new team-up of Luciani and Sabia, and they've got another game coming this year from Cranio, and I'm trying to get my hands on it right now. Anunnaki, Dawn of the Gods. Actually, I think that's probably going to be better for Shay to cover, because it looks like it's an area control kind of thing, but I'm hoping to get that thing covered as well, because if this is an example of what these two come up with working together, then I've got to see what else they've got up their sleeve, because minor complaints aside, that are easily fixed, Rats of Wistar is amazing, folks. And that is the run-through. Thank you very much for watching. Have a very nice day. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.